because you asked for it. And well, actually, you didn't ask for it. Okay, nobody asked for it, but I'm going to do it anyway. I want to talk about Smokey and the Bandit Part 3. So, as I've said before on the program and in these videos, I'm a gigantic Smokey and the Bandit fan. I'm a huge Smokey fan. Not so much a fan of Smokey and the Bandit 2. I recently reviewed literally as one of these videos, but also rewatched Smokey and the Bandit 2 and really didn't like it. It's such a gigantic disappointment to get everybody back together only a couple of years later. Same team that would do Cannonball Run, my favorite movie, and just have it not work. So I wanted to finish off the trilogy, the thrilogy, if you will. And I had this, the Smokey and the Bandit Pursuit Pack from many years ago on DVD. Originally bought it for the first movie. It had the other two. I'm like, hey, cool, I'll have them all together. They've since re-released these films as a set with the 3 movies and maybe all of the TV movies that were done as the Action Pack, which was this Universal syndicated package. It's where actually the Hercules TV show started. And various, named directors had these shows that they produced or were behind. And Sam Raimi had Hercules, and there was one, I think John Woo maybe. Somebody had one called Rising Sun that was Asian action, and then Hal Needham did Smokey and the Bandit series that had, I can't think of his last name, but somebody was on I think Kathy Ireland was in a few episodes of it, and a guy who was on Young and the Restless for a long time. I watched a little bit of those. I didn't care for it, but anyway, that's all out there. It's got nothing to do with what I'm going to talk about right now. But I tend to go on and ramble when I'm talking about Hal Needham movies because I love Hal Needham movies for the most part. So this is not a Hal Needham movie. So Hal Needham did Smokey. He did Smokey 2. And then he moved on to other things. This is 1983, Smokey and the Bandit Part 3, directed by Dick Lowry. So Hal Needham had nothing to do with this, nor did the Germans. You have Jackie Gleason coming back. Jackie Gleason's the star of this movie. He was originally an even bigger star of this movie. The plot of the film I'm going to talk about initially is that with film opens, Sheriff Buford T. Justice, as portrayed by Jackie Gleason, is retiring. And it's sort of this spoof of the Patton speech. So it's him in military gear in front of a giant flag giving his retirement speech. Big and Little Enos Burdett, Pat McCormick, and Paul Williams from the first 2 movies bust in, and they want to challenge Justice to deliver. I have to think on this so I don't get this wrong. He has to deliver a giant plastic shark with their logo on it from point A to point B in a set number of hours for $250,000. That's the bet, the wager. And because they're opening some kind of a fish and chips shop or something. So he says, no, forget that, I'm retiring, I'm done, do what you want to do, and goes off to Florida to retire, and the retired life via a montage does not suit him. So he accepts the challenge, so it's Justice and Junior in a police car for some reason. Again, even though he's retired, but he's still wearing the police badge and all that. And the wager, by the way, was $250,000 if he delivers this fish to a destination in time. If he doesn't, he has to forfeit his badge to the justices. And so he does that, and basically the story behind that is that Big and Little Enos Burdett, I said to the justices, I'm sorry, Burdetts. Big and Little Enos Burdett are going to do everything they can to stop him from achieving this goal, to basically humiliate him and to get the badge, and because they want to win and they want to win dirty. So it's sort of a Roadrunner Wile E. Coyote thing, which the Smokey series always sort of was. Along the way, they want to do something to make it even harder for the justices to win. So they call up, they figure that Bandit's got too much of an ego. It's not because Burt Reynolds didn't want to do the movie. The Bandit's got too much of an ego. Sally Field wouldn't get in within a mile of this either. So they're going to call the Snowman and have him pretend to be the bandit. It doesn't make sense. Pretend to be the bandit, drive the Trans Am, and try to give chase or be a severe distraction because they know Sheriff Justice is obsessed with the fact that he never caught the bandit over the course of multiple states, thousands of miles in 2 movies, one good one. And they're going to have Jerry Reed as the Snowman pretend to be the bandit and give chase and try to play hot potato, try to steal the fish, and if he can get it to the destination in time, he'll get the money. So it's like a competition between the sheriff and the faux bandit in this film. Along the way, Jerry Reed, this movie isn't just a knockoff of the first movie. I first saw this on HBO when it was in heavy rotation around 1984, 1985. And I'll preface all of this by saying I've got a soft spot for it because I saw it a lot and I thought it was funny at the time. And there were certain lines that I always thought were funny and my best friend and I would repeat for years afterwards. So I went into this film with a forgiving eye. So it's another chase movie. It's the justices and the bandit trying to grab this shark from each other. It's Big and Little Enos doing, Wile E. Coyote kind of stuff, trying to slow him down and make him lose time so that the justice can't get there on time. They don't really care about the bandit too much for whatever reason. And it's Jerry Reed being charming in sunglasses and the bandit getup and a mustache. And he picks up Colleen Camp along the way. Almost exactly the same scenario. I mean, different scenario, but the same format of how he picks her up. She's running away from being a used car dealer, TV spokesperson. She hops in the car with the bandit. She starts taking her clothes off and changing while he says very similar things to what Burt Reynolds said in 2 movies earlier. But overall, it's got what Smokey 2 didn't have, and that's car chases and stunts and a sense of forward propulsion. And it does have other things that the other films didn't have too. It's got a lot of I wonder if this film was originally going to be rated R. It was originally going to be something different, which I'll get into. But there's a lot of leering quality of this. A lot of bikini girls and a sequence in a no-tell motel where the justices are knocking on doors trying to find where Jerry Reed and Colleen Camp are staying. And you get these flashes of saucy things going on, and I guess in the old VHS days you would have tried to pause it, and if you didn't have a forehead VCR you would have been frustrated to try to look through the snow to see what you were seeing. But there's flashes of nudity in the film. At one point they stumble onto a nudist's picnic. I mean, there's just all this. A guy's reading a skin magazine. You can see the photo. It's just this odd repeated nudity, or wanting to be nudity in this film, that's trimmed way down. So I wonder if they had shot that and intended it to be a little bit of an edgier film or not. Just like the first movie, there are creative profanities that Jackie Gleason says that are dubbed over. In the original, I'm not going to say the word, in the original you see him call his son a moose twit, but there's clearly not an I and there's an A in that second word that was spoken on set, but they dubbed it to not be an R in 77. And they did it again in this. So it's did they think they were going to get away with it in a PG movie several years later that they didn't? I don't know. It's kind of odd. And oftentimes, Jackie Gleason's voice is dubbed by somebody who sounds a lot more like Paul Williams doing Jackie Gleason than Jackie Gleason doing Jackie Gleason. So it's odd. Side note, when I saw this movie on CBS, when it premiered as CBS, movie of the week or whatever back in the 80s, they completely redubbed Jackie Gleason's voice with the voice of Henry Corden doing Jackie Gleason. Now, I don't know if you know, Henry Corden was the 1980s voice of Fred Flintstone. Fred Flintstone, the Flintstones, was based on the Honeymooners. So I always thought it was kind of interesting and oddly cyclical that Henry Corden would be dubbing the voice of an actor who originated a character that Henry Corden was most famous for doing. Anyway, there's that. So if you ever watch the TV version, which is probably impossible to find now, of Smokey and the Bandit Part 3, which is what we're talking about here, the entire movie, I think they figured that Jackie Gleason swore so much in Smokey 3 that it was easier to just dub him with somebody else than have the voice keep changing, which used to happen in TV versions of movies. It would be kind of cool, actually, to have the TV version of this as an extra on some Blu-ray. So, Smokey 3 is odd. If you don't have gigantic regard for the first movie, it's funny, it's fun. Jackie Gleason repeats some lines from the first film, and most of the lines are him just insulting his young son. But Mike Henry is still funny as the simple-minded junior. Colleen Camp is okay as the female sidekick in this. Jerry Reed is fine. It's not the original Trans Am. It's a circa 1983 Trans Am, which to me looks a lot like the Knight Rider car in many ways. But it does what Smokey 2 didn't do, which is a whole lot of highway action. There's cars for no really good reason at all. Cars just blasting, like when when Jerry Reed, Snowman, drives out of the garage in the Trans Am. It's like he has launched 4 feet in the air out of his garage. It's like his garage is like a TARDIS. It's like it's deeper than it looks, and there's a big ramp in there so that he gets up to like 88 miles an hour and flies. There's a whole lot of cars just hitting invisible ramps in this film, which I am all for. I'm all for flying cars. So Smokey and the Bandit 3 is available in various forms. I've got it on a DVD from, God, maybe possibly even 20 years ago, but I think it's in print. It's not technically very good, but it's fun, and people who maybe saw it at my age would probably enjoy it. Or if you just like car movies, if you like Jerry Reed and you like Jackie Gleason, it doesn't necessarily make up for the lack of Burt Reynolds, but I'm not sure that Burt Reynolds really wanted to be doing this movie at this time. He was too busy making a different disappointing movie with Hal Needham in Stroker Ace, which really kind of, other than Cannonball Run 2 the next year, really put his car chase movies to bed. The interesting thing about Smokey and the Bandit 3, now there are other videos on YouTube that get into way more detail about this than I'm going to, but I'm going to throw this in as a little tidbit for those of you who watch these reviews and haven't been looking for some reason for the truth behind Smokey and the Bandit 3. Originally, Smokey and the Bandit 3 was written and shot as Smokey is the Bandit. The idea was, and this is bizarre, that Jackie Gleason would be playing Buford T. Justice, naturally. Nobody else could play that role. But he was also going to play the Bandit in this movie. And there is a trailer on YouTube, the original teaser trailer, which I had only ever seen very, very recently for the first time, where Jackie Gleason basically is in that sequence from the beginning of Smokey 3 where he's doing the Patton bit, but it was shot for the trailer. And he explains, the only way I can catch him is to become him. And there aren't really any shots in the trailer, sadly, of Gleason as the Bandit. It's mostly just action at that point because it was a teaser. But they did shoot this movie, I believe, in full, with Jackie Gleason with the mustache, the cowboy hat, the red shirt, and at least inserts of him driving the Trans Am. Now, I believe only one still survives of that, which you can find online. And for probably, well, I don't believe in guilty pleasures. For some people, it would be an embarrassing number of years. I have tried to find the original script for Smokey and the Bandit 3, Smokey is the Bandit, because I need to get my head around, what was this going to be? How did this make any sense? I mean, if you're dealing with reality, he can't be in 2 places at once, so it's not Justice pretending to be the Bandit. Did he dream it? What's going on? Well, after watching this DVD last night on this old Pursuit Pack edition, I did a little web search, and I'd done web searches for this before, and I came up with nothing, so I just gave up. There are certain, you always could find, excuse me, the demon's coming out. You always could find unproduced screenplays if you know where to look on the internet, or first drafts, early drafts of screenplays. And for a while, I used to frequent websites that had these. I found a treatment that Peter Sellers had written for what would have been the next Pink Panther movie in the early 80s that never got made. And I'd heard about that before, and finding it and being able to read it, I was given the gift of one more Pink Panther movie with Peter Sellers. It was just, in my brain and on the screen. So for years, I'd tried to look for a Smokey and the Bandit 3 script, never found it. Last night, I went online, and I found it. And I just started reading it. I read it literally until my eyes were stung so much I had to go to sleep last night. So it is out there. And I will say, anybody who is watching this, I'll send it to you, because I know how hard it was to find for so many years, and I think it should be out there if you want to see it. There is a full PDF script, 140-something pages, for Smokey is the Bandit. Now, again, there are other videos and articles that explain in full what the differences were, all that stuff. I'm only going to tell you, the original version of this movie, they just treated it as read that Jackie Gleason is the Bandit in this movie. At least as far as I've read. Now, at some point in the movie, in the script, it may go back and say, oh yeah, it was all a dream. But what I've read in the script, it says, you know, they're playing it up like it's going to be Burt Reynolds, and he steps into the room, and it's Jackie Gleason, and that's just what it is. It is a legendarily lost movie. Universal probably has a print of this somewhere in their vault, probably, or a very early video transfer. I think there is probably little to no demand for this. There's no way that it would be financially viable unless there's some kind of a gigantic, well, unless there's a Smokey and the Bandit remake, and then you may get a chance at seeing this, or there's some kind of bizarre, gigantic Jackie Gleason revival. Unlikely we're going to see this on visually, so the next best thing is that one still image and either a detailed breakdown or reading the script for this movie. So later tonight, after I record this, I'm going to finish the script because I'm just dying to find out how did this work. At any rate, you can't watch that. What you can watch is Smokey and the Bandit Part 3 from Universal Home Video in various formats. It's interesting. Let me know if you want to post a comment on YouTube or Facebook, or send me a message somehow if you're watching this on TV. What do you think of Smokey and the Bandit, the series? What do you think of Smokey 2? What do you think of Smokey 3? How did you first see Smokey 3? I was, again, like Smokey 2, especially by the time Smokey 3 rolled around, I was highly aware of what was playing in the movie theaters. I was going to the movies weekly, at least once a week. I was seeing things all the time. I do not remember one ad for Smokey 3. Was it a regional release? Was it released only in the South? Was it released only to the drive-in? I don't know. I don't ever remember seeing a print ad for Smokey 3 where I grew up. I don't remember it playing in the theater. I certainly would have wanted to go see it if I was a kid. So I don't know what the deal was, why I never saw it. I didn't see it until it hit cable, and it was always on the video store shelf. So anyway, Smokey and the Bandit Part 3. Yes, they made 3 of these things. My recommendation, just watch Smokey and the Bandit.